Hi, my name is Bill, and this is Diner Booth Discussions. This is going to be a series of videos. This one is my first one, and I've been meaning to make these videos, or start making these videos, for a couple of decades now. The topic is going to be what is wrong with the NFL. And the reason I say that is I was a die-hard NFL fan. I mean die-hard fan. I grew up watching football with my father. He was a Green Bay fan. He really liked and admired Coach Vince Lombardi. So naturally I became a Green Bay fan. Green Bay actually won 3 championships in a row. 66, 67, and 68. 67 and 68 was the first 2 Super Bowls. So even though the first one they won wasn't called the Super Bowl, they won 3 NFL championships in a row. After that, Vince Lombardi left Green Bay and went to coach the Washington Redskins. And it just so happened that my father retired in '64. We moved from Maine, where we were stationed at the time, to Maryland because my father was looking for a government job after he retired from the military, and that was the best place to go. So we moved to Maryland, and then Vince Lombardi ended up coaching there. So we became Washington fans as well as Green Bay fans. Of course, he passed away after coaching 1 season with the Washington Redskins. He died of cancer. But I was a die-hard fan, and I was a die-hard Packer and Washington Redskins fan. I never missed a game. And not only was I a fan of the game, I became a student of the game. I really studied how the players played the game. And as I got older, when I was in junior high school, my sister's high school won a conference championship. And I was there for the game. She was a cheerleader. And that gave me the fever, I guess. I wanted to be a high school football player when I got there. As it turned out, I did play high school football. And my senior year, we had an undefeated season and won our conference championship. They didn't have state playoffs then, but we were just a really good team. And it was the first time the school that I went to ever had a team that went undefeated. So as I said, I was a die-hard fan. But about 20 years ago, I had reached a point where I couldn't watch more than a quarter of an NFL game without being disgusted and turning off the TV. And I'm going to tell you the reasons in a minute. But while I was cleaning out some old newspapers, I keep newspapers because I have a wood stove in my house, in my basement, and I use the newspapers, the old newspapers, to crumble up and make a fire, get it started. I was going through some old newspapers, and I found this sports section from the Washington Post dated November 6th, 2016. And it wasn't just me who thinks that something is wrong with the NFL. The headline on this paper said, "The Shield is taking some hits. The NFL's ratings are down. Theories why include less practice time, more roster turnover, and an obsession with protecting its brand." So I'm just going to read you a couple paragraphs of this article. Bill Polian, a Hall of Fame former National Football League executive, tuned in to watch the league's Thursday night contest, October 27th, and like so many other viewers this season, did so almost grudgingly. Jacksonville and Tennessee, a pair of small market franchises with losing records, were squaring off in prime time. If expectations were low beforehand, the game sure met them, a lopsided, sloppy grind in which the Titans led by 27 points before halftime. A little more than 3 hours of penalties, punts, and an overall lack of intrigue, even to an NFL lifer. So they go on to say how bad the game was, and then they started, giving their theories on what was causing the drop in NFL attendance. It's my opinion, and a lot of what I am going to say is my opinion. I will bring some things out that are facts, but a lot of this will be my opinion. If you agree or disagree with me, that's fine. But it comes down to this. The high school team that I played for, if I compare that to the NFL teams in the last 20 years, and I graduated in 1973, I'm 71 years old. There hasn't been an NFL team in the last 20 years that was as fundamentally sound as my high school team. Now I know that's a pretty ridiculously sounding statement, but it's true, and I'm going to explain that. As a matter of fact, after I graduated high school, my brother, who was 5 years younger than me, the following September, he played on a Johnny Unitas League football team, which was up to 105 pounds, 12 and 13-year-olds. Their coach was Buzz Nutter. He was a NFL center who played when John Unitas was quarterback for the Baltimore Colts. He was an All-Pro, and he played in the first NFL championship game to go to overtime. He was a pretty well-known person. So the team that my brother played for, they had an 8-game season, and then they had playoffs. So after the first 2 games, they were 0-2. My brother was the best player on the team, and he played defensive end. So after the first 2 games, which I attended, after the second game, Buzz Nutter asked me if I would be willing to take over coaching the defense of this team, because he had his hands full just with the offense, and the defense is what was making them lose the first 2 games. So I did that. I took over the defense. And that's going to be important for you to remember when we get down to the 2 examples I'm going to give in this, as far as teams in the NFL now are not fundamentally sound. So just remember that. So just real quick, after I took over the defense, we won the next 6 games in a row. All 6 games were shutouts. So, the reason why I cannot or have not been able to watch an NFL game more than the first quarter is I'll sit down at the game, and of course, since I live in the Washington, D.C. area, we get the Commanders games, which used to be the Redskins. And I remember, for example, the last season that the team was owned by Dan Snyder, I sat down to watch a game because I had nothing better to do. I turned the TV on. Washington kicked off an opposing team. I don't remember who they were playing. The opposing team drove down the field, got to about the 40-yard line of Washington, and they had a 3rd and 4. So they came up to the line. The quarterback did his cadence, tried to pull the defense offsides, and sure enough, they did it. They got a first down. So the drive then stalled on the 20-yard line. Same thing, 3rd and 4, different cadence. Washington jumped off sides, another first down. They got down to the 5-yard line. It was 3rd and 4. Did the same thing again. Pulled Washington offside. First and goal on the 1, they ended up scoring a touchdown. I turned the TV off. I can't watch that. I couldn't sit there and watch guys being paid millions of dollars, being coached by coaches being paid millions of dollars, that would make that mistake 3 times in a row and let a team score. I just can't watch it. There's other things too that make me turn games off because it just shouldn't happen in the NFL. So that's why I got to where I couldn't watch games anymore, things like that. Now, after a loss, if you watch interviews with the losing coach, they almost always mention turnovers and penalties. You know, if we could just cut out the turnovers and the penalties, we could win more games. And I know everybody's heard that. So tonight, I'm going to talk about one type of turnover and one type of penalty and show you how ridiculous it is that these happen over and over and over again. And I used to think that it might be the player's fault when these things started happening. But after looking at it for a long time, I realized it's the coach's fault. And we'll get into that. But the first thing I want to talk about is fumbles. Now, I actually watched a whole game and several whole games when Jaden Daniels came to the Washington Commanders. I love that guy. I think he's going to be great if they don't get him killed by calling his number to actually run the ball too much. So I'm watching them, and they played a game against Philadelphia, a regular season game, and they had 5 turnovers, but they ended up winning the game. Now, they had a rookie running back. I can't think of his name now. They called him Bill. He fumbled twice in the game. And both times, he was carrying the ball like this. He had his finger over the tip. And he had it tucked into his elbow like this. Okay? And he would run like this. And as he was being tackled, once he got the ball punched out by a defender behind him, hit the ball here and punched it out. And I think the second one, as he was going through the line, somebody hit the ball like this and punched it out. As you can see, it's pretty easy to do. Then I'm thinking that, maybe the coaches are telling them not to carry the ball like that. Maybe they do that so that they feel like they can run faster because they get both arms moving. After those 2 fumbles, there was a station break. When they came back on, the announcer, I don't remember the announcer's name, I recognize him, and I don't think he had ever been a football player. He said that those 2 fumbles had really hurt Washington. And he said those backs need to learn how to carry the ball right. What they should do is put their finger over the tip and tuck the ball into their elbow. Okay? I was stunned. I could not believe the announcer said this. Now, this guy, not being someone that played in the NFL before, and I know he's somebody that never coached in the NFL, the only place he could have gotten that from is a coach in the NFL. That's my opinion. Where else would he get it from? So I realized that's the way they're telling running backs to carry the ball now. Now here comes a fact. That is totally wrong. And I'm going to show you why. I put my finger over the ball and I tuck this in my elbow. There's no way to hold it. There's no way. And I'm a weak guy. Imagine what a linebacker can do. 240-pound linebacker that can bench press 350 pounds. He'll knock that ball out every time. That is not how you hold a football. The correct way to hold a football, and I learned this back in high school, in 1971. You put your hand over the ball like a claw, and you pull it into your armpit, like this. Now, like I said, I'm 71 years old. I'm 2 months past a torn rotator cuff in this shoulder. It's very painful. It's not as painful as it used to be. I'm going through rehab. But even that, I can hold this ball in here, and there is no way you're going to punch this out. It's just not going to come out. If you carry the ball like this, you're not going to get fumbled unless you take a hit that just totally knocks you almost out. Now, how does the ball get like this? The correct way to take a handoff from the quarterback is not like this. It's not grab the ball and then get it over here. If the quarterback is on my left and he's going to hand me the ball, I put my arms like this. He slides the ball in there and I have both hands over the point of the ball. And it's like this. Once I get through the line, past the linebacker, depending on which side I'm running, if I'm headed down the left sideline, then I'm pulling it to this armpit. If I'm going to the right, and I got more people coming this way, more defenders, I have it on this side. Now, if you notice, a lot of the fumbles in the NFL, when the guys got it like this, are people coming from behind and punching the ball out. When you have it here, it can't be punched out from the back because your arm has the ball covered. They can punch you in the arm, but then that should be a penalty for unnecessary roughness because you can't just punch a guy. So this is the right way to carry the ball. Now, when I was in high school, our high school team, we had a couple of fumbles. It was very rare, but we did have a couple of fumbles. And usually it was they had to go out and give the guy smelling salts to wake him up. And that's the reason we fumbled. Very rare did we fumble. So, if the coaches nowadays knew that the right way to carry a ball and taught their players how to do that, and if a guy's making millions of dollars a year, you think he could agree to carry the football correctly? It would cut fumbles by 90%. Now, the other thing that I'm going to cover is penalties. I'm going to cover one penalty. We already talked about this. Offsides. In the 6 games that I coached the defense of the little Johnny Unitas League football team, they didn't have a single offsides penalty. I've got a video on my tablet here. I'm not going to show you the video. I'm just going to play the sound. And it's the sound of quarterback calling cadence. Let me pull this up here. If you all remember Cam Newton, he was one of the quarterbacks that could get defensive linemen to jump off sides with his cadence. Aaron Rodgers was also supposed to be one of the best. But I'm just going to play this. I'm going to set this football here. Now I'm going to play this so you can hear his cadence and what he's saying about it. I'll put a link in a video once I get this video up to this Cam Newton video so you can take a look at it. I'm also going to put a link up, I forgot to mention this, and put a link up to a fumble. Jalen Hurts fumbled a football playing against the Packers when he went back to pass, didn't see anything, he pulled the ball down, ran, and ended up fumbling. And for you Philly fans, I'm not picking on Jalen Hurts or Philly. It just was a good video. After the fumble, they showed a replay, and in slow motion, it showed how the ball got punched out. And he carried the ball exactly the way he's been taught, like this. And as he was being tackled and went down to the ground, somebody punched it out from behind. So I'll link that too. But let's get back to pulling people off sides. Start this video. I got the sound turned up. Hopefully you can hear.
Yeah, somebody. What is that? You know, I'm gonna send a video in a compilation.
I'm telling you, I say this game is like, it's ridiculous.
So is this something that you practice? Did it the game?
Everything look the same. Understand? Go back real quick. This is another football 101. Yeah. Every time at this, you know what? Shout out to Sam Mills Jr. Mm-hmm. In training camp, 1 year, he was like, "You have a bad tendency to right before the snap comes, you raise your hands to catch it." So when I go into the gun, I knew that as a caveat to say, "Oh, defenders are going off my hands." You see how I raise my hand?
Yeah.
Go to the next one. Go to the gun.
Can't change it.
I can't give you out a secret.
Okay, I hope that came through on the video. So what Cam Newton was doing was using his cadence, and then somebody on his team made him aware that a lot of guys were watching his hands, and when he would move his hands up, they would go to try to get a jump on the count. So he started using that against him. He would move his hands, but the ball wouldn't get snapped. They'd jump off. That video came from a game where they were playing Washington Redskins, and the Redskins jumped offside 8 times in one game because they were listening to his cadence and they were watching when he moved his hands because he had a tendency to move his hands when the ball was snapped. Now, as an NFL coach, what can we do to correct that? I mean, what can we do? Well, let me tell you how you correct that. Let's pretend this ball's on the ground. Let's pretend I'm a defensive lineman in the NFL, and I'm in my stance. Now, this might be difficult for a guy that's being paid millions of dollars to remember to do or be difficult for a coach to figure out how to teach this. But if the center has the ball and the quarterback's calling signals, if I turn my head, it's kind of hard, but if I turn my head this far and look at the ball and don't pay attention to the cadence and don't look at the quarterback's hands doing this, if I just watch the ball and don't go until it's snapped, I will never jump off sides. As a matter of fact, I can tell you, we could sit this ball down on the floor, I could get down in the stance, and I could play his cadence over and over and over for an hour. I would never jump off sides because I would watch that ball and it would never move. That's how simple it is. That's how I taught 12-year-olds to not jump off sides a single time in 6 games. Yet the NFL guys, they jump off sides all the time. That is why I can't sit and watch an NFL game. I can't watch them carry the ball wrong and in a close game give the game away on a fumble that should never happen because they're doing it wrong. And it's not the player's fault, it's the coach's fault. The coaches are not coaching fundamentals anymore. And the bad thing is, once the NFL players started carrying the ball wrong, you could see that whatever the NFL does, it bleeds down to the college level and down to the high school level. And I'm going to make that clearer in future videos. So that's all I got for tonight. If there's any NFL coaches that happen to stumble across this video, and let's say you have a 500 team, you win half and lose half. If you get your guys carrying the football correctly and get them to where they don't jump off sides, my opinion is that could pick up 4 extra wins for you in the season and maybe make you a playoff team. Just those 2 things. We're going to cover a lot more in my next videos. Thank you all for putting up with me. I know that I wasn't very good in this first video, but there's more to come. And the next video, I'm going to cover the position on defense, which is the worst played position in the last 20 years. Until then, take care.